Let's bring in Robbie Rogers, LA Galaxy midfielder, who joins us now. How did it feel to get back onto the pitch there, Robbie, for the first time?
Felt really good. It felt quite normal actually to be back in LA and back at Home Depot Center. So I was happy to get that first one out of the way and kind of get over all that hoopla and then kind of just get on with it.
But at age 25, you retire. What was the main reason for that?
Well, I retired because I obviously came out to my family in October and then to the rest of the world, I guess, in February. And I just didn't want to be a puppet. I didn't want to be torn all these different directions. And I wanted to take some time to myself and to see my family. And I'm really happy I did it that way. I know it's been different for Jason, and he's been happy with the way that his process has gone, but I felt like I need some time to myself.
But to be able to come out, it's one thing to do it in the United States, I would think, with the reaction from the fans. But you're playing in Europe. The fan reaction, what you would hear, how much did that play into this of being able to do it in the United States as opposed to in England?
The soccer fans definitely in England are more brutal, but one thing I've learned from all this is that people are sensitive and have been very supportive through this whole process. So that really surprised me. I didn't know what to expect really, and I didn't really care at that point. I just wanted to be honest with my family and friends, and then with myself. So it wasn't important, but it's been great that everyone's been so supportive.
Reaction to Jason Collins with him coming out, cover Sports Illustrated. Did that factor in to your decision?
Not to my decision, but I was obviously happy that he did it, and I was really happy that our society gave him such a positive response and was so supportive. I think that's really important. So I'm hoping that possibly more athletes will make the same decision, but I'd be a hypocrite if I were to pressure anyone into doing that. So we'll see, but I think our society or our country especially is moving in the right direction.
Talking to Robbie Rogers, LA Galaxy midfielder, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. But did you find that it wasn't that big of a deal to everybody else? It maybe because you hold it in for so long that you're worried about what the reaction's going to be, and then you find out maybe that reaction, you sort of overemphasize something like that.
So it's a great question. Yes and no. I realized that people were very supportive and it wasn't that big of a deal. But then again, also there's a reason that athletes feel like they can't come out, obviously, because no one does it. And obviously, there's I guess in sports it's a bit homophobic, you could say, because if it wasn't, then everyone would just feel fine doing it. And in England, it's the same way. And I've always heard things growing up and in locker rooms. So that's the reason why I felt that way. It's not something that athletes just make up in their minds. It's something that needs to change. And like I said before, it is changing. But then again, on the other side, it was so supportive and I think I said to you, it felt very normal to be on the field again. So, I'm happy with how everything's played out, but there are things that still need to change.
What was the reaction from your teammates?
They were great. I did my rehab last summer with the Galaxy when I broke my ankle at Leeds, and so I knew a lot of the guys. And coming back, I think that made it a little bit easier. They knew me as well, I think, from when I played in the MLS. So, I was coming into a situation where I felt more comfortable, I think, than if I went into a team where no one knew me. But, everyone has been very, very supportive all around the world.
Do you want to be an activist here?
At first, no. I think that's why it took me so long to, tell the rest of the world after I told my family. And even when I wrote that letter, I wrote it in December and didn't post it till February. And after that, I didn't do my first interviews for a few months. So, I didn't want to be, but obviously I've kind of put myself in that situation. And after receiving emails and letters from everyone around the world, I realized that, I have a platform, and I, believe God put me in this place for a reason. So now I very much want to be. I think my motivations have very much changed. I want to help, especially younger kids that deal with this kind of stuff. I want to reach out to them and help them and support them, because I know that not everyone receives the same amount of support as I did.
You mentioned God. How do you wrestle with that, struggle with that, of what the Bible says and about the life that you live?
That's been a difficult thing for me my whole life. But just too many things have happened in my life that have played out and that have kind of just been in my path that, have just, I would be selfish to think that, I did this all by myself. I know that, deep in my heart that this is what I'm supposed to do, and that, God has me doing this for a reason. And, it's hard to explain, how do you explain faith? But, I very much am a strong believer in my relationship with God, and I know I couldn't have done this by myself. Of course, I've had my family and friends, but, I'll say again, I very much believe that, God is having me do this and has put me in this platform to be a voice, I guess, for those kids and for other people with differences, I guess.
But what the Bible says.
Yeah.
And,
I just don't believe it. Just straight up, I just don't believe that. I don't believe that God would create me this way. I can't believe it.
Are you going to play for Team USA?
I'd love to be back with the U.S. team. I think it's probably been like 2 years since I've played for the U.S. First I have to get back to playing well with my club team. I need to prove myself with the Galaxy and be successful there and help our team win games. So that's most important right now. But I was close to the last World Cup team, and I'd love to be in the same position. We'll see.
Let me ask you the poll question before I let you go. Flopping, is it soft or is it is it sportsmanship? Is it gamesmanship?
I think there's a balance. I mean, you don't want to be a player that's known to always be flopping. That gets annoying. And when I'm watching on TV, I'm annoyed. But as an athlete, sometimes I understand it. Sometimes you have to be, like you said, it's a sportsmanship. You have to be smarter than other guys. And if a guy's being a bit too aggressive, sometimes you need to use that against him. So it's tough to comment on that. But I guess, just the balance of it, the balance of being smart but not overdoing it.
Have you flopped recently?
Recently, no, but I definitely flopped in my career.
Well, you were retired. That's why you weren't flopping recently.
True. Just had to get away from that flopping. That's why I retired.
Well, good luck with this, and hopefully you get back to just playing soccer and being known as just a soccer player. But I know you said you want to be a little bit more than that, so good luck with that as well, being an activist.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
All right, Robbie Rogers, LA Galaxy midfielder. Whole lot there. And I know that, he talked about God, and every time, when we had Jason Collins on, and then people will react by saying, well, what the Bible says. And that's what I want to know. He brought up God, how important God is with him, and wrestling with that, but then saying, I just don't believe what the Bible says. But he still believes God had something to do with this, and age of 26. But imagine that. And, he's not a star player, but, still a solid player. At age 25, you're going to retire because you can't live your life. Now you come back. I've always found this, and once again, it's just in the number of people I've come in contact with. There are a lot of gays who they don't realize that or you're aware, or you could, there's that possibility. And then when they come out, you go, okay. And then you go, well, wait a minute, you're not shocked? And you go, no, wait, did you suspect? Well, I had my suspicions there, my thoughts. But I think there's sometimes they live in the world, they're afraid to come out with anything in their world. And then when they do, then they realize there is acceptance, there is tolerance. There's going to be people who are never going to accept that. But then they know that. So you have to make that decision. You come out, you're going to get backlash from people. But there will be tolerance. I think the more education we have, understanding, the better we all are with this. But Robbie Rogers, good luck with that. Plus, at age 26, he's playing where Jason Collins, we don't know if Jason Collins is going to play. And if he does play, he's not really going to be playing. He'll be on a roster. And Robbie Rogers starts for the LA Galaxy. So it's a little bit different there. And granted, it's soccer as opposed to a major sport. But even a conversation I had yesterday, and I'll be careful in parsing my words here, but, an NFL player and where he's going and hoping to be able to come out. And, a player who is of name recognition and a valuable team member. So I think that's really where it's going to change. That will change the dynamic here. If you get somebody in football, our pastime now, who's able to come out, he's somebody who is valuable to his team, and I think you'll see that before the end of the summer.